What do you know about Buttcrack? Chances are, I know more.
Live from Banyan Tree Studios in Lower Puna, it's the Social Media Influencer Show with your host, Sven Buchanan.
Welcome to the Social Media Influencer Show. Sorry to tell you, Sven Buchanan could not be here, so I am filling in for him. My name is Jim Larson. You may recognize me from my half-second appearance in this movie, Buttcrack.
Yeah, I totally understand.
Perhaps my appearance in this movie is very brief. However, it was important enough to be mentioned in the credits, giving me the name Coroner Jimmy.
Woohoo!
Brother Wade!
I also have an IMDb mention, thanks to my appearance in Buttcrack.
Yay!
But here's something I bet you don't know. I am also the writer-director of this movie, Buttcrack.
Really?
Which means everything you see on the screen when you watch this movie was my idea. Whether they were good ideas or not, it's up to you to decide.
I love this part. Watch this.
What inspired Buttcrack?
The idea for Buttcrack came about in two different forms. There were like this one idea and this other idea, and they came together to form this idea. Idea number one, it was 1988, 1989. I was a student at Montana State University. I lived in a dormitory. I had some pretty cool friends. One of those friends was a very large guy. I'm not going to mention his name just to respect his privacy. But if you want to know his name, look on my channel at the Nigel the Psychopath 33rd Anniversary Director's Cut. You'll see him at the very end. He's the guy who plays the Texas Ranger, Jack Dupree. Anyway, this guy, he had the Buttcrack. He was the original Buttcrack. He had a hard time keeping his pants pulled up. It was not quite as bad as Wade Jenkins in the movie. He did have some control over it, but it was not a very strong control because his Buttcrack was sticking out pretty much all the time. And the rest of us would kind of laugh at him behind his back about it. And I remember one day we were talking, me and this one friend of mine were talking, you know, there should be a movie about this guy. Him and his Buttcrack. And that could be the name of the movie, Buttcrack. A few years later, early 90s, I'm a student at George Mason University now. I'm back home in Virginia. And I'm trying to write this story. I had the story idea, but I could never quite get the story to take off. I was writing as a short story, as a story about, I had this idea, what if somebody came back as a zombie? You know, like Wade does, like you see in all movies, Walking Dead nowadays on TV. What if, though, your best friend, a loved one, somebody in your family is killed, there's a zombie, you kill him a second time, do you have a second funeral for him? That's what I was wondering. That's what I was trying to write this story about. What happens when you put him back in the ground? Do you go through the motions of a funeral a second time? Or do you just stick him back in the ground or dump him in the woods somewhere? I don't know. So I was thinking about that. So I was thinking, okay, I had the Buttcrack, the idea for Buttcrack never left my mind, had the funeral idea. So I said, how about the Buttcrack has something to do with how he becomes a zombie?
That's brilliant, Jim.
And then the idea of the second funeral, that was actually the first real idea I had to make Buttcrack. I wanted the second funeral scene. That is where Buttcrack really began to grow in my mind. I wanted to write the scene where there was a second funeral.
Well, I know I already said everything I could possibly say at the first funeral for Brother Wade,
But I feel any time a young man is to be buried, words should be said over his body.
And and the rest of the movie was just about making that scene make sense. So everything in Buttcrack was all supporting that one scene. Everything had to add up to this idea. So there you have it. That is the inspiration for Buttcrack.
Ow! What are you doing? Ow, what'd you do that for, Brian?
Yes,
Get
Brian.
hurt?
He's already dead. You can't hurt him. Whack him good. Give it to him. Ah!
When you watch Buttcrack, yeah, it's about a butt crack. The guy's butt crack's always sticking out of his pants, but it wasn't really about the butt crack. That was kind of gratuitous.
Hey, boy! Pull your pants up, you dumb son bitch!
It was really about cluelessness, what it's like to be clueless, to have no idea what people think of you, to have to put up with somebody who has no clue about their personal space and their personal appearance and how their very presence is affecting other people. And that's Wade. Of course, who else? That's Wade.
People who don't have enough sense to keep their pants pulled up to cover their private parts like their butt cracks. And then there are non-butt cracks, people like us who have enough sense not to show our butt cracks to the world.
Brian had to put up with that. And that's really what the movie's about. It's about putting up with a clueless person.
That was Brian. Oh no, we're great friends. We're just like brothers. Honky tonk loving. Love burning up with desire. Gonna set you on fire.
Where was Buttcrack shot, Jim?
Buttcrack was shot in my own home. I own that house in Virginia on a road called Goshen Road. It's my house, that was my lawn, everything you see inside the house, Brian's stuff, that room where Ken lived, that was my room, or in my house, a room in my house. The decorations in that room, that was not created for the movie. That was actually how I had that one room decorated. I just thought, it'd be cool to just have quirky, weird things in a room, so it just made sense to have Ken sit in that room as if it was his room. You'll see him stroking the girl, the picture of the girl. That girl is actually my cousin. She didn't know I was going to use that picture, and I think she was a little bit mortified when she saw the movie, and there it was. But she's over it. She's all grown up now. This was, 21 years ago. She has a good life of her own now. You may have seen her in another video. If you subscribe to my channel, which you should do, hit subscribe. Why not? It's easy. Just click. You're done. You're subscribed. You'll see her in the dog wash video. That's her washing my dog Ginger. The artwork you see hanging on the wall, some of that, the color pictures, that was designed, that was painted by the actor Doug Siskowski, who played Brian. But when we get into Preacher Man Bob's preaching at Ken, and Ken's asking, is God in urine and Satan in urine, and it turns dark and you get those dark black and white pictures, that was my artwork. I'm an artist too. A little different from Brian, but that's my style, and I like it.
Jim, that is an awfully nice bathrobe that Wade is seen wearing. Tell us, where did it come from?
That robe you see Wade wearing, that was my robe. I still own that robe. I do. I still use it. It's still a functional robe. 21 years later, still my robe.
Jim, I understand that there is a connection between John Champ High School in Northern Virginia and Buttcrack. Could you elaborate on that, please?
The land where the Buttcrack house once stood is now John Champ High School, which to me is cool, because there's no way we're going to be able to stay. The people who live there, me, my family, my neighbors, we wouldn't have been able to stay because developers were buying and the tax rates were going to go way up. So I was pretty happy to sell and move on and start a new life for myself in Hawaii, which is where I am now. I live in a region called Puna. It's on the Big Island. made some national headlines a few years ago, I believe, with the eruption of the Kilauea volcano. That was only a few miles from me. I could see the glow in the sky, felt the earthquakes. I could, smell the sulfur in the air. It was a strange time. We didn't know if the lava was going to flow this way or what, but it didn't. So everything's cool. John Champ High School. I haven't actually been there. I haven't been up to see it, but found some pictures on YouTube. Not YouTube, Google. I did a Google search and found some pictures. It's a football field. What I am told is that where my house was, where the Buttcrack house was, is now the football field for John Champ High School. And it makes me wonder, the staff, the faculty, the students, the alumni, it opened in 2012, so there's been some graduates since then. Are they aware of the history of the land that school stands on? I'm guessing probably not. They have probably little or no clue that this happened on their football field. Or this.
Loud! 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 Say amen, brothers and sisters.
Or this. This could very well have happened where the 50-yard line is. And it's a shame they were not aware of the history of that land. Had they been aware of the history of that land, perhaps they would have called that high school the Wade Jenkins High School. Or even Preacher Man Bob Christian Academy for Godly Studies. Something like that. But no, they decided to just go the predictable route and go with some Revolutionary War history. John Champ, as I understand it, I did a Google search, so I would have a fun fact to share with you. He was involved in the Revolutionary War. He was involved in an unsuccessful attempt to kidnap Benedict Arnold.
What about Buttcrack 2, Jim? When can we expect a sequel?
One thing that I've seen come up quite a bit is, where's Buttcrack 2? Is there ever going to be a Buttcrack 2? Well, the truth about Buttcrack 2, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be a movie version of Buttcrack 2. I mean, it's been over 20 years since the original Buttcrack came out. Everybody involved has moved on with their life, including myself. I don't even know what these people look like anymore. They're probably too old to play the characters they once played. I am, though, writing a Buttcrack novel, which will take the story to the next level. It's going to go into details about Buttcrack, the characters that did not come up in the movie. Questions like, why did Brian ever rent that room to wait to begin with? And what kind of media coverage did all those murders get? You got all those dead bodies with their faces melted. What happened? Did the news media cover that? What did the police think of all that? Was Preacher Man Bob even a suspect when he shot them? Stuff like that. All that's going into the book. Also, Wade's sister's religion. What is that all about? Voodoo, witchcraft, that kind of thing is what Wade says. But what is it really? You'll find out in the book. If you like books, don't want to wait, can't wait for that book to come out, why don't you read this book, The Chronicles of Spoonie, Volumes 1 through 3, Tales of a Completely Fucked Up Kid. This is a book I wrote recently. If you like the humor of Buttcrack, this has a very similar sense of humor. It's not related to Buttcrack, but the sense of humor is the same. So while you're waiting for the Buttcrack novel, it's going to be called Buttcrack and Beyond. Why not read this? There's an excellent audio version of it. If you don't like to read, or maybe you just don't know how to read, listen to it.
The casting of this movie, Jim, was spot on perfect. Please tell me, for I genuinely want to know, how did you find the perfect actor for every character? I mean, it is just extraordinary.
Buttcrack was cast mostly with people I knew. There was Rob Hayward playing Ken, Rob is somebody I had known since middle school. When I started doing Nigel the Psychopath videos on VHS, Rob was in a lot of those, so I knew what to expect of him as an actor. It just seemed right to put him in Buttcrack. I met Caleb through Rob. Those two were friends. I think they worked together. Rob said to me, "Hey Jim, I got the perfect person for you to play Buttcrack." So he introduced me to Caleb, and yeah, he was perfect. There's nobody else who could even come close to playing Wade Jenkins other than Caleb Kreischer. So credit to Rob Hayward for introducing me to him. Many of the cast members were people that I worked with at a TV station. That's where I worked at the time, Northern Virginia Public Television. There was Annie. She worked there. There was the lady who played the police officer that interrogates Brian, or interviews Brian. There was Wade's sister, Harriet, at the end of the movie. She worked in the office at this TV station. Laurent Manassian, who played Hank the Redneck, he worked at the TV station. Other cast members, Doug Siskowski playing Brian. The guy at the end, Trevor. Got those guys from a casting agency. Al Nickley, who plays Stan, writing that book, Famous and Infamous Graves of Northern Virginia. That was the real-life husband of the actress who played Harriet, who worked at the TV station. Who else? Oh, my parents. My parents are in this movie. Wade's parents, those are my parents. Preacher Man Bob, of course, was played by Mojo Nixon. He read the script and liked it and said, "Yeah, I'll play this part."
You have written a number of books, haven't you, Jim? Could you tell us about them?
So other books I've written, I'm going to share some of these with you. I mentioned the Chronicles of Spoonie. I mentioned Fat Naked Poetry. There's also Knowings from the Silence. This is a 4-part series. I'm only going to show part 1. It's all just sort of meditations, pretty cool stuff. If you just like mellow, calm stuff, this is mellow and calm. This is wild and crazy. We got some more wild and crazy stuff. I co-wrote this book. I didn't write all of it myself. I co-wrote it with Yolanta Valencia, In Touch with Kailani. It's all about life in an intentional community in Hawaii. Loosely based on real life, loosely based on fiction. It's just loosely based. The Double O Fool Guide to Tarot Mastery. That's another book I wrote. Learn about tarot cards. All in this book. More tarot cards. What's tarot got to do with it? This will take you deep into tarot. The foreword was written by Dr. James Wanless, creator of the Voyager Tarot deck. More tarot cards, the Pieces of You Tarot, more deep stuff. Not tarot cards, but oracle nonetheless. The Highway Oracle, all those road signs you see, speed limit 55, keep right, yield, blah blah blah, etc. Do not enter. What do they mean to you personally? Sure, you know what they mean on the road, but what kind of inner guidance and wisdom can you get from those? There's a deck to go along with it too. One Way. There's a whole deck. You might like them. Try it. What do you got to lose?
To learn more about Jim Larson's writing, visit the websites you see on the screen.
That's everything I can think to tell you about Buttcrack. If there's anything else you want to know, just ask me somehow. Leave a comment. Yeah, that's the best way. So, for the social media influencer show, I'm Jim Larson.
If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to Jim's channel. If you have been watching his videos but you haven't subscribed, that makes you something of an asshole, don't you think? Don't be like that, just click subscribe. This has been Sheila Bryson for Banyan Tree Studios.